Good evening, councilors. Welcome everyone to a meeting of the Brockton City Council Finance Committee. Out of respect for public health and in response to the governor's declared state of emergency, this meeting will be closed to the public, and interested parties can instead access the deliberations via live stream on the Brockton Channel YouTube or by Channel 12 on Brockton Community Access. I do recognize a quorum. First order of business, would the clerk please read?
Appointment of Dubois Fees of 335 Prospect Street, Brockton, Mass. As a constable in the city of Brockton for a term of 3 years. Invited Mayor Robert Sullivan, Dubois Fees.
Good evening, Mr. Feast. Are you on? Let me see if he is in the waiting room. Mr. Feast on? Council, is any objection if we hold this and proceed through the agenda and determine if Mr. Feast will join us later?
That's fine.
I hear no objection.
No objection.
Madam Clerk, item number 2, please.
Appointment of Henry Soons of 5 Kenneth Ave, Brockton, Massachusetts, to the Council on Aging Board of Directors as an alternate for a 3-year term ending January 2024. Invited Mayor Robert Sullivan, Henry Soons.
Good evening, Mr. Soons.
Good evening, councilors.
Would you like to make a brief statement?
Only that I'm thankful to be appointed. Hopefully I'll be appointed. I've been a resident of Brockton for almost about 35 years. Maybe I shouldn't say I came from Cambridge first, but that's where I was born and raised. And I look forward to being able to do whatever I can to further the cause for senior citizens, of which I'm one.
Well, we thank you for your willingness to volunteer. Councilors, any questions? Any questions from councilors? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Recommend favorably. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Thank you.
Councilor Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Eaniri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan? Councilor Monahan? Councilor Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Thompson?
Yes.
So it's 10 in the affirmative.
Recommended favorably to the city council. Mr. Soons, this will be voted on by the city council next Monday evening. You do not have to be present, but the council will take final action to approve your nomination.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Stay safe, sir.
You also.
Madam Clerk, item number 3.
Ordered, acceptance and expenditure of the total grant award in the amount of $14,000 from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, MEMA, Fiscal 20 Emergency Management Preparedness Grant, to Brockton Emergency Management Agency, Fiscal 20 Emergency Management Preparedness Grant Fund. Invited Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Stephen Hook, Director of Brockton Emergency Management Agency.
Good evening, Mr. Clarkson and Mr. Hook. Mr. Hook, do you have a statement that you'd like to offer?
Mr. President, good evening, councilors. So this is a annual grant that we get, and you guys actually just approved this grant a couple of months ago. This is a supplement to the grant because we moved up a tier, and I believe we moved up a tier because we increased our 2020 census population. So that's a good thing for us. These funds are going to be used for some communications equipment for the Emergency Management Agency, and there's no match required. Happy to answer any questions.
Any
Motion to
questions?
recommend favorably to the full council.
Second.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and properly seconded to recommend favorably. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Eaniri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Counselor Monahan is absent.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Monahan,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The recommendation favorably to the city council passes. Item number 4.
Ordered. Total grant award in the amount of $623,809 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security's 2021 Senator Charles E. Shannon Jr. Community Safety Initiative Grant. To the City of Brockton Police Department, fiscal year 2021, Senator Charles E. Shannon Jr. Community Safety Initiative Grant Fund. Invited Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Emmanuel Gomes, Chief of Police.
Good evening, Chief. Good evening, Mr. Clarkson. Chief, would you like to offer some comments to the council?
Yes, good evening, councils. This Shannon grant is an ongoing grant that we have. It serves a great number of purposes in the city. It's kind of an octopus type thing where it just has tentacles everywhere and a lot of services. I did invite Michelle St. James, our grant coordinator, if anyone would like an exact articulation of exactly where these assets will be dispersed. So Michelle is on. If I can answer any questions for you, I will try as well.
Any objections, Counselor, if Ms. St. James answers questions? The chair hears none. Any questions? Any questions for the?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if
Councilman
Michelle could give us just a brief overview.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I actually am very happy to be on tonight because I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the council for the long-term support you've shown, Shannon. This is a very special grant for the police department because it does give us the chance to work with a variety of dedicated, creative community partners from all over Brockton to directly help youth who are at risk for becoming involved with gangs, while also providing street outreach in the community to many more than those who are given direct services. So before I get into what we're doing this year, I'm going to build on, I just want to talk quickly about what we did last year, just because it builds into this year. As you know, the pandemic has been difficult for everybody, but more than anyone else, it's been rough on kids between remote learning, increased isolation, the economic strain felt by their parents. It's really been pulling at youth and making those who are at risk even more at risk and creating new categories of at-risk youth. So I am very grateful to our Shannon partners for being able to be as creative and resourceful as they were and change their programming on a dime to become COVID friendly. For example, Safe Corners, our street outreach and case management team, who were able to, instead of being school-based, because they usually have an office in the Keith Center, went community-based. They had managed to still have 74 case management clients and 186 street outreach participants. They made over 3,000 contacts with those youth, either in person or on the phone. And then they were also deployed to hotspots throughout the community 2,977 times in 2020. They never went virtual. They did some virtual programming, but they were there with the youth, keeping peace, interrupting retaliations, doing everything they could to help keep kids safe and on track. Mass Hire managed to employ or either virtually or in person or make sure that they had hands-on training virtually, 37 youth, even in a pandemic. Boys and Girls Club, they switched up their format. They managed to have a summer camp, but they also changed their club into a learning lab so that kids could have a place to go and do their remote learning with steady internet, with positive role models, and with help for their homework, along with some enrichment activities. Brockton Christian Mentoring Initiative did the same thing. They created a learning lab at Trinity Church, and they also managed to have a COVID-friendly neighborhood park-based summer evening program. Kids Connect, not only did they do their Summer Leaders program and also their Kids Connect programming on a virtual platform, they also used some funds that were going to go unused in Shannon and put it toward building a teen center that is COVID friendly, and then will also be able to grow once we're past COVID. We had new partners who are going into this year as well. Health Imperatives was able to educate youth on a virtual platform about safe dating, about cyberbullying, about in-person bullying, how to be safe online. And 24-Hour Power was able to hold a COVID-friendly outside event where youth learned about empathy because they decorated bags that they then filled with items that would be useful to individuals experiencing homelessness. They will be part of next year. So for 2021, we started with COVID-friendly programming. So beginning what we did last year, but every partner also has backup plans in the hope that COVID ends. So they, again, will be able to change their programming when it is appropriate to do so. And if it isn't appropriate to do so, they're prepared to stay with the COVID-friendly programming all year. So Safe Corners will continue to do their street outreach and case management. Mass Hire will continue to run an employment and education program. Boys and Girls Club, as of now, they are running their learning pods. If Brockton schools do go back and there isn't remote learning, then their funding will go more toward enrichment activities for youth, age 10 to 19. Kids Connect, they're planning on doing their Summer Leaders program in some form this year, and they're also continuing their Kids Connect programming, and they have this new teen center. Brockton Christian Mentoring, again, they are doing the Learning Lab right now. They're also going to be doing a summer program, and if COVID relents, then they have other programming in the wings. Health Imperatives is going to continue to work with Kids Connect kids and Safe Corners kids and Boys and Girls Club youth and do their programming, educating youth. 24-Hour Power has 3 virtual art projects planned for youth where they will actually get to learn how to create things and get to keep the objects that they create. And then there's going to be, late in the summer, there's going to be a much bigger billboard-based big community project. And then we're adding this year from Family and Community Resources. I'm very excited about this. This is the first time we're going to have a clinician solely dedicated to Shannon youth and someone who's trauma informed. And it will be both for individual and group counseling, very inclusive. And this is just very important for these youth. And then we're going to add back in a very popular program that couldn't run last year because of COVID called 508 Box Fit. It's a boxing-based fitness and learning program that runs out of the Keith Center, out of the Champion School. And we're hoping to bring that back late summer. Again, and for the police department side, we're hoping to bring back the very popular Bridges and Ball late summer, depending on how COVID goes.
Michelle,
yeah,
can you give us a sense of how many children we are reaching?
Last year, we directly helped 275 youth. That's the number we can report on. There are more than that because Safe Corners, one thing Shannon does not pay for is food. One thing our partners did was also feed youth, and that engages them and that gets contact. Safe Corners actually gave out over 500 weekly food and basic supply boxes, over 200 Thanksgiving food bags, and also holiday food boxes that had toys, clothing, shoes, and supplies, as well as food. So while the number we could report on was 275, you can multiply that into how many youth we're actually reaching, and then the ripple effects beyond that.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Counselor. Further questions? Is there a motion?
I have a question.
Counselor Cardozo had her hand up.
Counselor Cardozo.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't have a little raise your hand feature. I don't know why. Michelle, thank you for the updates and for that information. I'm glad to see that you've added some other partners, and I hope that you continue to do so. I know I sent you a couple requests for some folks that I thought would be good, and I think during the application process, one didn't send theirs on time, I believe, and there was another one that decided he didn't need the funds at the time. I'm not sure. You can tell me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal here is for us to continue to add grassroots organizations because they're directly connected to the community and they have the language capacity and they have, you know, that cultural sensitivity that's needed in a lot of these programs. So I hope you continue to reach out to me. I'm forming a coalition of grassroots organizations right now, so that you'll have like a long list of folks to look at next year for partnership opportunities. And then also, I think that we should, like, the mayor is going to come in front of us soon to talk about a strategic plan for youth programs in the city. We have to position Brockton as a city, a gateway city that is involving grassroots and that's helping with some of these funding streams getting to those smaller organizations because they're so important in the work that we're doing. And I think a lot of the larger organizations like the Y and the Boys and Girls Club, they've identified that they need to partner with grassroots. And there's going to be a lot coming down the pike as far as accountability to these programs. So I just want us to be very careful and be very intentional about, you know, involving more organizations that have culturally appropriate linguistic abilities and they can reach parents and involve youth and bring up those numbers from that 200 plus that you mentioned to more, because we just need a more collaborative effort and we need a better referral system too, so that all these programs are kind of referring to each other and positioning Brockton to receive more funding. Because I hear we're not getting, you know, the funding that we should be getting for a city of this size. So if we can kind of work together and develop a better, you know, plan for how we're gonna, there's enough youth in the city for all of our programs, do you know what I mean? And there's more need for more money. So just to kind of keep that in mind, if you ever need anything from me, I work directly with a lot of these folks and I'm happy to help so that we can, you know, continue this effort and serve more kids, and just keeping in mind that accountability piece that a lot of folks are kind of advocating around for these funds. But thank you, Chief and Michelle. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Counselor.
Motion to recommend favorably back to the full
Second.
city council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to recommend favorably. Any further discussion? If not, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Azak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Eaniri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
Recommended favorably to the city council. Madam Clerk, the next item on the agenda, please.
Resolved that Ms. Janice Fitzgerald and a representative from the Massachusetts Healthy Aging Collaborative be invited to a committee of the council to inform the public and counselors about the selection of Brockton to receive this honor. Invited Janice Fitzgerald, Director of Council on Aging, James Fuccione, Senior Director, Mass Healthy Aging Collaborative.
Good evening, Ms. Fitzgerald and Mr. Fuccione. Welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. President. Good evening, councilors. My lights have been flicking a little bit this evening, so I'm hoping I can get this in before we lose power. But thank you all for inviting me tonight to bring you some great news. You all look like you need to have some great news this evening. So I'm excited to announce that Brockton has been designated by the AARP Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities as an age-friendly community. So some of you may be saying, what does that mean? Well, I will tell you what that means. It means the World Health Organization, also known as WHO, developed the Age-Friendly City Framework in 2006, identifying the development of age-friendly communities as a key goal worldwide. Since then, hundreds of cities and towns across 37 countries have joined the WHO in their efforts towards creating an age-friendly world. In the United States, AARP functions as the partner organization to facilitate age-friendly efforts. This project is one that Dottie Slack and I tried to get going a few years ago, but just couldn't seem to find the time and get it off the ground. So back in November, the age-friendly application with a letter of support from Mayor Sullivan was submitted for consideration. And the mayor's letter reads as follows. Dear Mr. Festa, on behalf of the City of Brockton and the Council on Aging, I am pleased to submit this letter and application requesting membership in the AARP WHO Global Network of Age-Friendly Communities. The City of Brockton continues to commit to its residents to be a great place to live, work, grow, and age well. Being as diverse as the City of Champions is, we celebrate our cultures and embrace our residents who live here. The city is dedicated to offering policies and programs that focus on equal access to affordable, safe, and advantageous service for all residents. As we continue to address the many challenges that face the City of Champions and the entire region, we listen to Brockton's older adults, as they are the ones that have helped build this city. We are committed to expanding the policies that exist, improve the infrastructure, and empower our older adults. Becoming an age-friendly community will increase the efforts that are already happening in the City of Brockton. Thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to being part of this important community. Sincerely, Robert F. Sullivan, Mayor of the City of Brockton. So thankfully, back on December 11th, I received notification that we were the 494th community accepted into the AARP network of age-friendly communities. Membership into this network means that a community's elected leadership has made the commitment to actively work toward making the city or town a great place for people of all ages. AARP's presence encourages old adults to take a more active role in their communities and have their voices heard. As Brockton prepares for the rapid aging of our residents, we will focus on the following initiatives in areas such as housing, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic engagement, communication, and community and health services. As we move forward, our next steps will be to build a multi-sector action team and identify a team leader, create an action plan, implement the plan, and then conduct an evaluation. Collaboration and partnerships are the key to our success, and I welcome any suggestions from you that you may have for members of our age-friendly team. So before I invite our guest, James Fuccione, I just want to take a second to thank a couple people. I want to thank Rob May from Planning, Nicole Long from Old Colony Elder Services, Dottie Fulgenetti from Old Colony Planning Council, and Kerry Richards, the Mayor's Chief of Staff, who assisted in drafting the application. This collaboration with those partners has placed us as a recognized regional leader and a resource for other communities within Old Colony Elder Services and Old Colony Planning Council catchment area. So at this time, I want to welcome James and thank you for joining us this evening. James?
Thanks, Janice, and congrats to Brockton. Thank you to the City Council for having me. So I'm James Fuccione from the Massachusetts Healthy Aging Collaborative. And if you're wondering what that is, we're a foundation, and we get support from the State Office of Elder Affairs and a few other organizations as well. But we in Massachusetts actually have the most age-friendly communities of any state in the country. So in terms of Massachusetts, Brockton, I believe, is number 74. It's my job to help the city sort of recognize and honor what it's already doing well to support older adults. and kind of help figure out what the city can do better and what opportunities there are to better support all older adults in the city. So as Janice mentioned, there's a sort of a core team, and we're hoping that this announcement is more or less a kickoff to sort of recruiting other members. Many hands make light work. It's my job to help connect you with resources, guides, toolkits, funding opportunities, all kinds of other things that'll help move the process along and advance it. I'm grant funded by Tufts, so I cost nothing to the city, and hopefully we can connect you with funding to support and accomplish some of your goals. And I'm happy to join Janice in taking any questions that you might have, but this plan is really meant to, it's not really a cookie cutter process. It's meant to engage residents and make this unique to Brockton and figure out what does an age-friendly community not mean just in a kind of a broader context, but what does it mean for Brockton? Because every community is unique, has unique needs and opportunities and things that it does really well. So Brockton's no different, and I'm looking forward to helping Janice and the team figure out sort of what that is that we could help do to connect the dots and kind of move Brockton forward.
Questions, councilors? Any questions for Ms. Fitzgerald or Mr.?
Councilor Cardozo has her hand up.
Thank you, Tim. I'm sorry, I can't. I have like a couple of reactions, but none of this is a raise your hand. So Mr. Fuccione, am I saying that correctly?
Fuccione, yeah.
Fuccione.
All close enough.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. So this is a recognition that the city already received, but as part of the recognition, there's some other work that needs to be done, and that's where you come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's a recognition that Brockton already does a lot for older adults through many organizations, and namely the Council on Aging and Elder Services. But everybody has a hand in helping older adults. So my job is to help through this process of assessment, action planning, and implementation. So we have all the tools to help the city do that, and we just help guide Janice and the team along. So it's a recognition for what you're doing. It's a commitment to go forward in this process.
Okay, and with that recognition, did they take into consideration the cultural and the linguistic implications, or what we're doing right as far as meeting the needs of such a diverse population here in Brockton? We're a majority Black city. We have a large immigrant community, and we have a lot of underserved elderly people because of programs that just lack those cultural components and the linguistic abilities. Did we take all of that into consideration? If we're going to receive a recognition as age friendly, what age groups are we looking at? Are we looking at the Haitians, the Cape Verdeans, the Hispanics, the undocumented? What do they consider in giving us this recognition?
It's like that when you circle D, all of the above on multiple choice. I mean, the application is pretty broad and brief, but the assessment process is meant to engage all people in the community and all older adults. So hopefully we can, work with Janice to get things translated into proper languages, because the diversity and immigrant community, and those are strengths of Brockton and any community that's lucky enough to have them. So, if you're not engaging everybody in the community, then you're losing something, and the impact is going to be, the impact will fall short when you get to the action planning phase. So the intention is to be inclusive and equitable throughout the process.
Okay.
And Council, one of the ways that we will be doing that is through listening sessions at different times throughout the entire community. So that's one of the areas that we're going to focus on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and AARP has a survey translated into Spanish and Portuguese, but we are working with them on other translations in the meantime. If we can get listening sessions or get some of those questions translated for other populations, that'll be critical.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions? Counselor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, congratulations, Janice. Thank you, and thank you to your team on your hard work getting this. This does put a smile on our face. It is good news, and it's a positive thing that's happening in our city. So this is exciting. And thank you, Mr. Fuccione, for coming and speaking on this evening. You did mention that this is fully funded, but I didn't get by who. Was it Tufts, or I didn't really catch what organization's funding this, funding your help in this?
Yeah, my position, thank you, Counselor. My position is funded by Tufts Health Plan Foundation, State Office of Elder Affairs, and there's a number of organizations that fund my role. And so part of our coalition and our network is the strength that we bring to Brockton and any community that signs up. And we have statewide partners and regional and local partners in housing, transportation, and a lot of the themes, and they're called the age-friendly domains that Janice mentioned. So part of what we do is connect communities to expertise and guidance, depending on what the community identifies as priorities. And, you know,
Very good.
we have to have a pretty broad network because the needs and desires of communities are pretty broad, and everybody's looking for kind of different priorities and different things. So, but again, the hope is that we can connect the city with some funding opportunities as well.
Thank you, and we appreciate that. So thank you again, and congratulations, Janice. Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Further comments, counselors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion made, properly seconded to recommend favorably. Would the clerk call the roll?
Azak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Eaniri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
Recommended favorably to the city council. Thank you again, Janice and James. We appreciate this very much.
Thank you very much, councilors. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Councilors, that concludes the agenda. Does anyone seek recognition for an announcement?
We're still missing number 1.
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
Yes.
Did Mr. Feast appear? Is there a motion to
Make a
postpone?
motion
to the next
postpone to the
fin-
next finance committee.
Second.
All right, motion properly made and seconded to postpone to the next FinCom. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Eaniri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
Postpone to the next FinCom. Thank you, Councilor Mendes. I appreciate that. Now
Keep an eye on him.
Now we have reached the end of the agenda. Does anyone seek recognition? Anyone seek recognition for any reason? Councilors, we will have a regular city council meeting next Monday, the 8th at 7 p.m. I hope you all will be safe if you have to travel and work tomorrow. And thank you very much to our guests who joined us this evening. If there is no further business, this FinCom is adjourned. Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.